Right. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, everyone, viewers, good evening. Ntukuma, the Storytelling Foundation of Jamaica, founders of the International Anansi Movement, I Am, and Anansi Soundsplash, the Storytelling Conference and Festival in Jamaica, is happy to partner with Caribbean freedom fighters in this presentation. CFF enters its second year of bringing Caribbean storytellers together in the sharing of a tradition that we all have and love in common, and whose potential for uniting Caribbean peoples at home and in the region and scattered in the diaspora has not yet been fully embraced. Did you know that since the 5th century, tradition has August 29 as the date for the beheading of John the Baptist? Oh yes, Herod Antipas, ruler of Galilee under the Roman Empire, had John the Baptist imprisoned because he had publicly reproved Herod for divorcing his first wife. You might call that a man-made disaster, but natural if the love done. But then he unlawfully took as his second wife his niece, Herodias, unnatural disaster. Jewish historian Josephus states that many of the Jews believed that the military disaster that later fell upon Herod was God's punishment for his unrighteous behavior towards John. Really? So it's not Haiti alone God punished with disaster. Maybe him punish Marcus Garvey people too. Today is an anniversary of the August 29, 2005 landing of the Category 5 Katrina in New Orleans. It impacted Africans in the diaspora in a location reported to have the largest number of cells of Garvey's UNIA in one single geographical location. And what are we to say about the COVID-19 pandemic? The context of the COVID-19 pandemic has been said to reflect levels of anxiety, stress, disorientation, and morelessness that could well be described as culture shock. I invite you to consider that culture shock has been a constant feature of our existence since we first encountered the disaster known as Christopher Columbus seeking financial assistance for the war chest of Europe. There undoubtedly have been times when the shock has peaked. 1938, when the workers in the region rose up against the man-made disaster of economic inequalities. 1930s and onwards, when we encountered Windrush and began to realize that our labor was separated from our humanity. One was required to rebuild Europe after it mashed up itself in the war, but not the other. 1950, when we were unable to decide what to do with federation. 1968, when it was clear that Walter Rodney could not be tolerated, lest we believed him about grounding with our brothers and include Haiti in that family network, and you may add to the list. If we know nothing else in the month in which we celebrate Marcus Garvey and the courage and organizational skills of Bookman, we know that no matter what the disaster, we have built great civilizations and we can build another to astonish the world. The values through which we are able to remember who we are resound with the declaration of Louise Bennett that our defense is not defenseless. In the stories passed down from our ancestors, we find the imperatives that must form the core of how we educate our children and fortify ourselves to build in spite of disasters. The restlessness in the earth is not of the earth. The earth always there where it there. It don't move and go nowhere. It don't wake up and can't go back to sleep. It's not unemployed looking for a job it cannot find. The restlessness in the earth is the result of man's reckless exploitation of its resources for personal aggrandizement. How else are we to understand climate change? The stories we tell in this context must support equality, equity, justice for Africans now, not later, at home and abroad. We welcome all the storytellers who have been on this journey, the ones who are joining us for the first time, those who might be persuaded that there is social responsibility that comes with this art form and its performances. Welcome to the story listeners who honor these presentations with your attention, your comments, and your encouragement. And so let the stories begin.
Ashe.